I'm Barry Mitchell in Times Square. His father was a gambler and bookie who knew hustlers and prize fighters. He grew up to be a respected rocket scientist who knew Albert Einstein. We'll talk with Ronald Probstein about his memoir, Honest Sid, coming up on Science and You. Respected scientist Ronald Probstein grew up here in Times Square. But for him, his father and mother, it wasn't bright lights and glamour.
Everybody else's father worked at a regular job, brought home a regular amount of money, and my father was a gambler and a bookie.
We're at the Cafe Edison on West 47th Street, an authentic vestige of 1930s era Times Square, to talk with Ronald Probstein about his memoir, Honest Sid. Dr. Probstein is Ford Professor of Science Emeritus at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. He's written many scholarly works, but today, it's all in the family.
Honest Sid was my father. He was liked by everyone in Times Square. When you're not living within the law, but just on the edge of it, it's better that you be honest. Otherwise, you wind up with broken legs.
Sid was sure the racetrack would make him rich. He scalped tickets to Broadway shows. And when he gambled away the rent, he sneaked down the fire escape with his wife, Sally, and young Ronald.
When you're a 5-year-old kid, your mother drags you out in the middle of the night and drags you onto the fire escape. It's a little scary.
Did you grow up and become a success because of or despite your upbringing?
That's a very good question. Both my father and my mother, irrespective of what our situation was, were crazy about me. As bad as things were, they always tried to make sure that I was taken care of.
And Stuyvesant High School took care of nurturing Ronald's love of math and science. And before that, he was inspired by a particular movie.
The H.G. Wells Things to Come. And that dealt with rocketry, going to the moon, building new cities in different planets. I don't even think I knew what being a scientist was. I just said, that's an awful lot of fun to do that.
And now for the rule of the air, and a new life for mankind.
What is ballistic missile reentry physics?
Well, I worked on what was called hypersonic flow. That's the speed of flight or flow at many times the speed of sound.
Incorporating principles of hypersonic flow in the design of missiles and spacecraft keeps them from disintegrating upon re-entering the Earth's atmosphere.
I, with my colleague, more or less developed the theory of this flow.
You knew, or at least you met, Albert Einstein. Tell us about that.
Every person that I know that it goes into the physical sciences at one time or another becomes fascinated with relativity theory. And I was fascinated with it, and I was reading his work, and I saw another way of approaching a particular equation. This was an alternative and somewhat simpler approach to the same endpoint.
Yours was E equals MC triangle.
No, I didn't tell you that. It wasn't that. And so I wrote it up, and I went to his house in Princeton.
Were you invited?
No.
You just showed up at his doorstep.
Well, I told him that a friend of mine, who was a friend of his, said I should go. He was a true gentleman, very, very nice, and he took it. Then he told me when to come back, and I came back again. He had looked at it, and he said it was fine, very good, very pleasant to me. And those were my 2 times of meeting him.
How much of your success did Honest Sid live to see?
That was wonderful.
He took great pride in your accomplishments.
Oh, goodness me. It was embarrassing. I mean, sometimes he would exaggerate so much it was terrible. When we were going to get married in 1950, he told all the the Damon Runyon characters in the Broadway scene here that Einstein was going to be at our wedding. I loved him. I was crazy about him. I realized that was his life and I had my life.
It's been a real pleasure speaking with you, sir. Dr. Ronald Probstein. The book is Honest Sid, Memoir of a Gambling Man, available at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. Thanks for coming down from Boston to speak with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're very welcome, and you are watching Science and You.